Today's verses come from Genesis 20:14 to 22:14, a powerful stretch of scripture that includes restoration, fulfillment of God's promise, and one of the most profound tests of faith in all the Bible. These verses show us what happens when God fulfills His word, and how He often asks us to trust Him, even when it feels impossible. Have you ever received an answer to prayer only to be tested in ways you didn't expect? This reading will speak directly to that moment. Let's read together now from the King James Version, KJV. And Abimelech took sheep and oxen and menservants and womenservants, and gave them unto Abraham, and restored him Sarah his wife. And Abimelech said, Behold, my land is before thee, dwell where it pleaseth thee. And unto Sarah he said, Behold, I have given thy brother 1,000 pieces of silver. Behold, he is to thee a covering of the eyes, unto all that are with thee, and with all other. Thus she was reproved. So Abraham prayed unto God, and God healed Abimelech and his wife and his maidservants, and they bare children. For the Lord had fast closed up all the wombs of the house of Abimelech, because of Sarah Abraham's wife. And the Lord visited Sarah as he had said, and the Lord did unto Sarah as he had spoken. For Sarah conceived and bare Abraham a son in his old age, at the set time of which God had spoken to him. And Abraham called the name of his son that was born unto him, whom Sarah bare to him, Isaac. And Abraham circumcised his son Isaac, being 8 days old, as God had commanded him. And Abraham was 100 years old, when his son Isaac was born unto him. And Sarah said, God hath made me to laugh, so that all that hear will laugh with me. And she said, Who would have said unto Abraham, that Sarah should have given children suck? For I have borne him a son in his old age. And the child grew and was weaned, and Abraham made a great feast the same day that Isaac was weaned. And Sarah saw the son of Hagar the Egyptian, which she had borne unto Abraham, mocking. Wherefore she said unto Abraham, Cast out this bondwoman and her son, for the son of this bondwoman shall not be heir with my son, even with Isaac. And the thing was very grievous in Abraham's sight because of his son. And God said unto Abraham, Let it not be grievous in thy sight because of the lad, and because of thy bondwoman. In all that Sarah hath said unto thee, hearken unto her voice. For in Isaac shall thy seed be called. And also of the son of the bondwoman will I make a nation, because he is thy seed. And Abraham rose up early in the morning, and took bread and a bottle of water, and gave it unto Hagar, putting it on her shoulder and the child, and sent her away. And she departed, and wandered in the wilderness of Beersheba. And the water was spent in the bottle, and she cast the child under one of the shrubs. And she went, and sat her down over against him a good way off, as it were a bowshot. For she said, Let me not see the death of the child. And she sat over against him, and lifted up her voice, and wept. And God heard the voice of the lad. And the angel of God called to Hagar out of heaven, and said unto her, What aileth thee, Hagar? Fear not, for God hath heard the voice of the lad where he is. Arise, lift up the lad, and hold him in thine hand, for I will make him a great nation. And God opened her eyes, and she saw a well of water. And she went, and filled the bottle with water, and gave the lad drink. And God was with the lad, and he grew, and dwelt in the wilderness, and became an archer. And he dwelt in the wilderness of Paran. And his mother took him a wife out of the land of Egypt. And it came to pass at that time, that Abimelech and Phicol, the chief captain of his host, spake unto Abraham, saying, God is with thee in all that thou doest. Now therefore swear unto me here by God, that thou wilt not deal falsely with me, nor with my son, nor with my son's son, but according to the kindness that I have done unto thee, thou shalt do unto me, and to the land wherein thou. And Abraham said, I will swear. And Abraham reproved Abimelech because of a well of water, which Abimelech's servants had violently taken away. And Abimelech said, I wot not who hath done this thing, neither didst thou tell me, neither yet heard I of it, but today. And Abraham took sheep and oxen, and gave them unto Abimelech, and both of them made a covenant. And Abraham set 7 away lambs of the flock by themselves. And Abimelech said unto Abraham, What mean these 7 away lambs which thou hast set by themselves? And he said, For these 7 away lambs shalt thou take of my hand, that they may be a witness unto me that I have digged this well. Wherefore he called that place Beersheba, because there they sware both of them. Thus they made a covenant at Beersheba. Then Abimelech rose up, and Phicol, the chief captain of his host, and they returned into the land of the Philistines. And Abraham planted a grove in Beersheba, and called there on the name of the Lord, the everlasting God. And Abraham sojourned in the Philistines' land many days. And it came to pass after these things, that God did tempt Abraham, and said unto him, Abraham. And he said, Behold, here I am. And he said, Take now thy son, thine only son Isaac, whom thou lovest, and get thee into the land of Moriah, and offer him there for a burnt offering upon one of the mountains which I will tell thee of. And Abraham rose up early in the morning, and saddled his ass, and took 2 of his young men with him, and Isaac his son, and clave the wood for the burnt offering, and rose up, and went unto the place of which God had told him. Then on the 3rd day, Abraham lifted up his eyes, and saw the place afar off. And Abraham said unto his young men, Abide the here with the ass, and I and the lad will go yonder and worship, and come again. And Abraham took the wood of the burnt offering, and laid it upon Isaac his son. And he took the fire in his hand, and a knife, and they went both of them together. And Isaac spake unto Abraham his father, and said, My father. And he said, Here am I, my son. And he said, Behold the fire and the wood, but where is the lamb for a burnt offering? And Abraham said, My son, God will provide himself a lamb for a burnt offering. So they went both of them together. And they came to the place which God had told him of. And Abraham built an altar there, and laid the wood in order, and bound Isaac his son, and laid him on the altar upon the wood. And Abraham stretched forth his hand, and took the knife to slay his son. And the angel of the Lord called unto him out of heaven, and said, Abraham, Abraham. And he said, Here am I. And he said, Lay not thine hand upon the lad, neither do thou anything unto him. For now I know that thou fearest God, seeing thou hast not withheld thy son, thine only son, from me. And Abraham lifted up his eyes, and looked, and behold, behind him a ram caught in a thicket by his horns. And Abraham went and took the ram, and offered him up for a burnt offering in the stead of his son. And Abraham called the name of that place Jehovah-Jireh. As it is said to this day, In the mount of the Lord it shall be seen. This portion of Genesis takes us from restoration to fulfillment, then into one of the most heart-wrenching tests of obedience and trust in all of Scripture. Let's look at the spiritual insights one step at a time. 1. Restoration after failure. Genesis 20:14-18. After Abraham misled Abimelech about Sarah, God intervened to protect her. Abimelech generously restores her to Abraham with wealth, land access, and public honor. Why this matters. Abraham failed, yet God still restored him and used even a pagan king to bring blessing. God closed the wombs of Abimelech's household until restoration was made, then healed them after Abraham prayed. Life application. Even when we mess up, God's mercy can rewrite the story. He brings restoration, healing, and honor when we turn back and follow him again. 2. The promise fulfilled. Isaac is born. Genesis 21:1-7. Finally, after decades of waiting, God keeps his word. Sarah gives birth to Isaac. Her laughter of doubt becomes a laughter of joy. The faithfulness of God. God did exactly what he said at the set time. Not early, not late. The birth of Isaac wasn't just about a child. It was about trust rewarded and hope realized. Sarah's joy. She says, God has made me to laugh. That's the laughter of surprise, joy, and fulfilled faith. Life insight. God's timing may stretch us, but he never fails. When your breakthrough finally comes, it often brings more joy than you could have imagined. 3. Hagar and Ishmael sent away. Genesis 21 to 8:21. Sarah sees Ishmael mocking Isaac and asks Abraham to send Hagar and her son away. It grieves Abraham, but God tells him to listen. God's reassurance. Even though Ishmael is not the child of promise, God still blesses him. He promises to make him a great nation too. Hagar's wilderness moment. With no water, Hagar believes her son will die. But God hears the cry of the child and opens her eyes to a well. Life application. When you feel forgotten or cast aside, know this: God hears your cry and your child's cry. He always provides, even in the desert. 4. Abraham's tree at Beersheba. Genesis 21:22 to 34. Abimelech acknowledges God's favor on Abraham and makes a treaty with him over a well. Abraham plants a tree and calls on the everlasting God. Why this matters. Abraham is living out the promise: blessed, respected, provided for. The well symbolizes peace and provision. Spiritual parallel. After waiting, wandering, and struggling, we see Abraham standing in a moment of peace with men and worship before God. 5. Abraham's test of faith, the sacrifice of Isaac. Genesis 22 to 1 to 14. God asks Abraham to sacrifice Isaac, the very son he had promised. Without delay, Abraham obeys. Obedience without understanding. Abraham rises early and walks toward the unknown. He tells his servants, I and the lad will go and come again. That's faith even in the face of pain. Isaac's question. Isaac notices something's missing. Where is the lamb? Abraham replies, God will provide. God intervenes. At the last moment, as Abraham raises the knife, God stops him. A ram is caught in the thicket. God provides the substitute. Jehovah Jireh, the Lord will provide. Abraham names the place Jehovah Jireh because on the mountain of the Lord, provision was revealed. Life application. Sometimes God asks us to lay down what we love most, not to take it from us, but to see if we trust him more than the gift. And when we do, he often provides something greater in return. Summarizing today's powerful lessons. God restores even after failure and uses others to bless you. God keeps his promises no matter how long it takes. God provides in the wilderness. He hears your cry and your child's. God blesses obedience and peacemaking, even with outsiders. God provides at the altar of surrender. Faith unlocks the substitute. Let today's message remind you that nothing surrendered to God is ever lost, and no promise from him ever goes unfulfilled. Thank you for joining us today on this incredible journey of faith, promise, and surrender. From the joy of Isaac's birth to the heartbreaking test on Mount Moriah, we've seen how deeply God works through every season of our lives. Even when he asks for everything, he always has a plan, and his provision never fails. If this message has spoken to your heart, we invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. You'll find more Bible studies, uplifting messages, and powerful prayers to help you grow spiritually and walk stronger in faith each day. And don't forget to click the notification bell so you never miss what's next. If you're carrying a burden or need prayer, we'd be honored to stand with you. Drop a comment or send us a message, because we believe in the power of prayer and in walking together as a family of faith. All Bible verses used in this video are quoted from the King James Version, KJV, which is in the public domain and freely available for use. Our commentary, explanations, and additional content provided are original and intended for educational, inspirational, and devotional purposes. Please note, all interpretations, explanations, and commentary reflect exclusively our channel's perspective. When you surrender the promise back to God, that's when the miracle shows up. Keep trusting. He will provide.